Good morning. I am me myself. Who would I rather be? Where would I rather be? Is the moon made of green cheese? I've never been there, so I can't tell. Oh dear, I don't know what's got into me. Well, I can't be someone else, so there's no point in wishing. I'm 65 years old. I've got here somehow. I must have got something right. I wouldn't be here, would I? Where would I rather be? Well, it's a fact that there I was sitting down in St Albans, and if you didn't have a flash BMW or a flash Mercedes, you had an Aston Martin. Not all of them. There are some relatively ordinary people around, but it was too nice. All the yummy mummies in there with their beautiful prams, with their... I think it's under 2 now, isn't it? The average number of children, 1.7 or something. I'm not sure on that one. Look it up. So I've thrown myself in here at the deep end, in faith, in hope, in love. And, you know, it's a bit of a... Do I wish I'd done other stuff in my life? Well, how ridiculous. I should have jolly well done it then. Do I regret my years? Absolutely not. Do I regret marrying my former wife? Well, I met her 32 years ago, for heaven's sake. Threw our horses, mutually 7-8 miles either side, and she was Kempston, Bedford, and I was Newport Pagnell, and we met in the middle on the Buckinghamshire-Bedfordshire border there by the airfield. Just forgetting its name at the moment. At one point we had our horses in a field with a landing pylon in it. We were that close to the airfield. My son is dead. Anyone who's ever watched any of my films, I don't speak about it all the time, but the fact is, both my hair and my beard I won't cut till I die now, because I'm living in part too for my son Robert Francis, who committed suicide at the age of 18. He'd be 29 years old this year on November the 12th. He was born a full breech birth, so his bum was pointing down, so it had to be a cesarean. My former wife wanted a home birth. But it was 2 weeks planned cesarean. At the Central Milton Keynes Hospital, I drove up from Bristol, had a computer contract. It was a beautiful, beautiful full moon night coming up. I just had this little old Wolseley RAF blue motor car, but it was leather seats. I think possibly even had a wooden steering wheel with proper walnut veneer fascia and bouncy old suspension. 4-door it was too, actually. Leaked oil, drank oil. A gallon of fuel and about a gallon of oil as well. Apart from that, it was a nice little motor, which I picked up for nothing. It had been owned by this lovely old, here we go, ramble, this old boy by Cheltenham on, it's called Leckhampton Hill. I had a computer contract there. And he had 2 or 3 of these old motors, and it had, he was an engineer, a British aerospace engineer, little hydraulic jacks. So to get home, they had this steep hill to go up. Not the Leckhampton Hill, that's the main road, but they were also on a hill there overlooking Cheltenham. So he could just stop, talking the winter now, snow and ice and stuff, and zip, just hit the hydraulics, change the tyres, put on the snow tyres, clouté en français, c'est-à-dire clouté, studded. And off he went. So it was beautifully maintained in its way by this lovely old boy whom I met, and then I went back to the place for a reason. There's a reason I won't go to that place. It used to be a farm, which is a whole long story. And first I met him, still smoked his old pipe, and then I went back, and it was now his widow, in fact, so he died, the old boy. And she had this car. I had a rally-prepared Escort at the time. So I parked that. I went down by train and coach or something from London or Newport Pagnell or wherever, and parked the Escort, drove the little Wolsey back to Newport Pagnell, and then back down again to pick up the Escort. And I got it for a song. It was £150 cash, I remember. I took a used tenors and put them on a silver salver. That was it. She was just glad that someone was going to, keep the old girl running. And I used to drive up and down from Newport Pagnell to Bristol. I had a contract in Bristol. They nicked her one day, but the police found they went to the same area. All these cars turned up with the keys still in. But I mean, I think you can just hotwire those old cars if you know what you're doing. And she was fine, no damage, nothing. So it was 110 miles to Bristol from Newport Pagnell, and I think we got something like 20,000 miles out of her, actually. Quite sure how I rambled on to that. But anyway, there we are. There's no point in wishing that you were someone else. How ridiculous. One has one's own life. And again, I can go on into this one, but I'm not going to. But Psalm 139, verse 16 says, "All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." Amen. Which sort of means that your life's all mapped out for you from the start. How could Isaiah prophesy the coming of Christ 700 years before, for heaven's sake? I mean, more often than not, I don't even know what I'll be doing in the afternoon from the morning. I've got a vague idea. I now seem to have a home place to come back to. What about the neighbours? Wish I were dead. I see where that one's coming from now. But it was too nice down in St Albans and Harpenden I was as well, for a year nearly. So I've made my choice, in all innocence, quite frankly. I've just walked round the square and this fishwife of a woman, boy oh boy, absolutely effing and blinding at her little children. "If you don't do this, we'll give you a jolly good whacking." Ooh, wish. So you can't. I mean, I'm blessed. I had wonderful, gentle, elderly, gentlefolk parents. My mother was a maternity sister. My dear old dad was a analytical chemist, and the kitchen was the place he used to walk through on the way to the workshop. He did the bills and the fixing and this and that, and mother did the cooking and the house cleaning and that side of things. So very sort of old-fashioned, older parents, in a way. Well, aren't I blessed, and I've got no baggage from my early years. I had a wonderful, blessed sort of normal, stable, a minor public school education, Mill Hill for what it's worth. All of that, that's what Mother wanted. I don't like the old boy network. I think it's absolute rubbish. But anyway, that's it. I can't change it now. I couldn't, it was my parents' choice. Well, my mother especially wanted that for us. I have an older brother. So there it is. One is a product of one's parentage and so on, and the environment you live in. But it just occurred to me, I am me, me myself. Who else would I be? So there we are. Oh, bother. I meant to have this going. I forgot. Silly me. Let's fire. Ah! Old man. I beat him, actually. Beethoven died at the age of 56. I'm 65. Here we go. Barenboim playing it. It's called the Waldstein, this one. Number 21, I think. So, count one's blessings. I mean, the lady I met yesterday dying of cancer. Actually, I just did briefly dip into the news and talking about this pandemic and the backlog of people. So the medical focus has been on COVID, and so then there's a huge backlog of other stuff, particularly cancer stuff, that is out there, undiagnosed, untreated, and so on. I don't know why it is beautiful, but I mean, I can just listen to these Beethoven piano sonatas. If I can't think of any other beautiful music, then I just put on a Beethoven piano sonata and sort of, I know it'll be fine. So there we are. Count one's blessings. Count your fingers and toes. Can you see? Can you hear? Have you got fresh, clean drinking water to drink? As so many don't have. I was involved once with a completely different lass, well before I was married. Her mother was a cousin to the Brodie of Brodie, so upper class Scottish. Joanna, something called green deserts, so trying to green up the Sahara, or the Sahara sort of encroaching on Algeria and all of that. So many people in Africa, but elsewhere, do not have fresh, clean drinking water. Have you ever tried to carry a great big bowl on your head? The Africans, the black women, and it is always the women, just do it. If you've ever watched one, they have a sort of, it's called a duck, the cloth, make a little nest for the pot, and they just swing it up there and then walk like that. I mean, in terms of posture and deportment and grace, there probably isn't a better training. And they'll walk miles with that. And it's the easiest way to carry something, because you're not carrying the weight, it's just sitting on your spinal column. It's beautiful, actually. I love the good African stories I could tell. Right, enough rambling. So, count one's blessings. For me, the greatest blessing is my faith. I am a Christian. I love God through Christ. Amen.